Hey guys, welcome to day 34 of the Bible in a Year plan. Today, we will be reading Leviticus 1 through 3, Hebrews 2, and Psalm 27. If you need to read more about this plan, visit the High Quality Gospel website with a link in the description of the episode and the podcast. Please leave a like and follow the podcast to stay up to date with new episodes. Now, let's begin with reading Leviticus 1. Then the Lord summoned Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting. Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when any of you brings an offering to the Lord from the livestock, you may bring your offering from the herd or the flock. If his offering is a burnt offering from the herd, he is to bring an unblemished male. He will bring it to the entrance to the tent of meeting so that he may be accepted by the Lord. He is to lay his hand on the head of the burnt offering so it can be accepted on behalf to make atonement for him. He is to slaughter the bull before the Lord. Aaron's sons, the priests, are to present the blood and splatter it on all sides of the altar that is at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Then he is to skin the burnt offering and cut it into pieces. The sons of Aaron, the priest, will prepare a fire on the altar and arrange wood on the fire. Aaron's sons, the priests, are to arrange the pieces, the head, and the fat on top of the burning wood on the altar. The offer is to wash all its entrails and legs with water. Then the priest will burn all of it on the altar as a burnt offering, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. But if his offering is for a burnt offering is from the flock, from sheep or goats, he is to present an unblemished male. He will slaughter it on the north side of the altar before the Lord. Aaron's sons, the priest, will splatter its blood against the altar on all sides. He will cut the animal into pieces with its head and its fat, and the priest will arrange them on top of the burning wood on the altar. But he is to wash the entrails and legs with water. The priest will then present all of it and burn it on the altar. It is a burnt offering, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If his offering to the Lord is a burnt offering of birds, he is to present his offering from the turtle doves or young pigeons. Then the priest is to bring it to the altar, and will twist off its head and burn on the altar. Its blood should be drained on the side of the altar. He will remove its digestive tract, cutting off all the tail feathers, and throwing it on the east side of the altar at the place for ashes. He will tear it open by its wings without dividing the bird. Then the priest is to burn it on the altar on top of the burning wood. It is a burnt offering, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. When anyone presents a grain offering as an offering to the Lord, it is to consist of fine flour. He is to pour olive oil on it, put frankincense on it, and bring it to Aaron's sons the priest. The priest will take a handful of fine flour and oil from it, along with all its frankincense, and will burn this memorial portion of it on the altar, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. But the rest of the grain offering will belong to Aaron and his sons. It is the holiest part, the food offerings to the Lord. When you present a grain offering baked in an oven, it is to be made of fine flour, either unleavened cakes mixed with oil or unleavened wafers coated with oil. If your offering is a grain offering prepared on a griddle, it is to be unleavened bread made of fine flour mixed with oil. Break it into pieces and pour oil on it. It is a grain offering. If your offering is a grain offering prepared in a pan, it is to be made of fine flour with oil. When you bring to the Lord the grain offering made in any of these ways, it is to be presented to the priest, and he will take it to the altar. The priest will remove the memorial portion from the grain offering and burn it on the altar, a food offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. But the rest of the grain offering will belong to Aaron and his sons. It is the holiest part of the food offerings to the Lord. No grain offering that you present to the Lord is to be made with yeast, for you are not to burn any yeast or honey as a food offering to the Lord. You may present them to the Lord as an offering of first fruits, but they are not to be offered on the altar as a pleasing aroma. You are to season each of your grain offerings with salt, and you must not omit from your grain offering the salt of the covenant with your God. You are to present salt with each of your offerings. If you present a grain offering of first fruits to the Lord, you are to present fresh heads of grain, crushed kernels, roasted on the fire, for your grain offering of first fruits. You are to put oil and frankincense on it. It is a grain offering. The priest will then burn some of its crushed kernels and oil with all its frankincense as food offering to the Lord. If his offering is a fellowship sacrifice, and he is presenting an animal from the herd, whether male or female, he is to present one without blemish before the Lord. He is to lay his hand on the head of the offering and slaughter it at the entrance to the tent of meeting. Then Aaron's sons, the priest, will splatter the blood on all sides of the altar. He will present part of that fellowship sacrifice as a food offering to the Lord, the fat surrounding the entrails, all the fat that is on the entrails, and the 2 kidneys, with the fat on them at the loins. He will also remove the fatty lobe of the liver with the kidneys. Aaron's sons will burn it on the altar along with the burnt offering that is on the burning wood, a food offering of a pleasing aroma to the Lord. If his offering as a fellowship sacrifice to the Lord is from the flock, he is to present a male or female without blemish. If he is presenting a lamb for his offering, he is to present it before the Lord. He must lay his hand on the head of his offering, then slaughter it before the tent of meeting. Aaron's sons will splatter its blood on all sides of the altar. He will then present part of the fellowship sacrifice as a food offering to the Lord, consisting of its fat and the entire fat tail. which he is to remove close to the backbone. He will also remove the fat surrounding the entrails, all the fat on the entrails, the 2 kidneys with the fat on them at the loins, and the fatty lobe of the liver above the kidneys. Then the priest will burn the food on the altar as a food offering to the Lord. If his offering is a goat, he is to present it before the Lord. He must lay his hand on his head and slaughter it before the tent of meeting. Aaron's sons will splatter its blood on all sides of the altar. He will present part of his offering as a food offering to the Lord, the fat surrounding the entrails, all the fat that is on the entrails, and the 2 kidneys with the fat on them at the loins. He will also remove the fatty lobe of the liver with the kidneys. Then the priest will burn the food on the altar as a food offering for the pleasing aroma. All fat belongs to the Lord. This is a permanent statute throughout your generations. Wherever you live, you must not eat any fat or any blood. Now we read Hebrews 2. For this reason, we must pay attention to all the more to what we have heard, so that we will not drift away. For if the message spoken through angels was legally binding, and every transgression and disobedience received a just punishment, how will we escape if we neglect such a great salvation? This salvation had its beginning when it was spoken of by the Lord, and it was confirmed to us by those who heard him. At the same time, God also testified by signs and wonders, various miracles, and distributions of gifts from the Holy Spirit according to his will. For he has not subjected to angels the world to come that we are talking about, but someone somewhere has testified. What is man that you remember him, or the Son of Man that you care for him? You made him lower than the angels for a short time. You crowned him with glory and honor, and subjected everything under his feet. For in subjecting everything to him, he left nothing that is not subject to him. As it is, we do not yet see everything subjected to him, but we do see Jesus, made lower than the angels for a short time, so that by God's grace he might taste death for everyone, crowned with glory and honor because he suffered death. For in bringing many sons and daughters to glory, it was entirely appropriate that God, for whom and through whom all things exist, should make the pioneer of their salvation perfect through suffering. For the one who sanctifies and the one who are sanctified all have one Father. That is why Jesus is not ashamed to call them brothers and sisters, saying, I will proclaim your name to my brothers and sisters. I will sing hymns to you in the congregation. Again, I will trust in him, and again, here I am with the children God gave me. Now since the children have flesh and blood in common, Jesus also shared in these, so that through his death he might destroy the one holding the power of death, that is, the devil, and free those who were held in slavery all their lives by the fear of death. For it is clear that he does not reach out to help angels, but to help Abraham's offspring. Therefore he had to be like his brothers and sisters in every way, so that he could become a merciful and faithful high priest in matters pertaining to God, to make atonement for the sins of the people. For since he himself has suffered when he was tempted, he is able to help those who are tempted. Now we read Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I dread? When evildoers came against me to devour my flesh, my foes and my enemies stumbled and fell. Though an army deploys against me, my heart will not be afraid. Though a war breaks out against me, I will still be confident. I have asked one thing from the Lord. It is what I desire, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, gazing on the beauty of the Lord and seeking him in his temple. For he will conceal me in his shelter in the day of adversity. He will hide me under the cover of his tent and set me high on a rock. Then my head will be high above my enemies around me. I will offer sacrifices in his tent with shouts of joy. I will sing and make music to the Lord. Lord, hear my voice when I call. Be gracious to me and answer me. My heart says this about you. Seek his face. Lord, I will seek your face. Do not hide your face from me. Do not turn your servant away in anger. You have been my helper. Do not leave me or abandon me, God of my salvation. Even if my father and my mother abandon me, the Lord cares for me. Because of my adversaries, show me your way, Lord, and lead me on a level path. Do not give me over to the will of my foes, or false witnesses rise up against me, breathing violence. I am certain that I will see the Lord's goodness in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart be courageous. Wait for the Lord. On day 33, we finished Exodus and reviewed how God revealed himself, and how Christ is alluded to in the New Testament. We began Hebrews and saw evidence for Christ in the Old Testament. Today we begin Leviticus, a rule book, and these rules are for the priests, the Levites, thus the name Leviticus. We read about 3 different types of offerings and sacrifices: burnt, grain, and fellowship offerings. Burnt offerings are the death of an animal. Only blood can pay for sin. This is a gift that God has given the Israelites to atone for their sins. The death of a specific, unblemished animal will be burnt. Christ would later be this offering, for he is the ultimate perfect lamb. Something else to notice is that God has very specific instructions for the offerings. He did not just accept anything. Other cultures would sacrifice people and children like the Canaanites. Burnt offerings will not be accepted by God if his rules and restrictions were not followed. Grain offerings were either voluntary or given as first fruits. The bread must be seasoned with salt and not have yeast. Well, we know that yeast represents sin, and even though they were allowed to use yeast for themselves, God prohibited it in the offerings. Salt had to be used, along with spices, to make it flavorful and the best of the bread. Salt cleans and preserves, representing purity and cleanliness from sin. Christ also speaks of us being the salt of the earth, showing purity in the world. The fellowship offering is a blood sacrifice, that is to bring peace between the person and God. This did not have to be a situation where they feel God is judging them for sin, but it can be simply a thanksgiving offering to God. This was also the only sacrifice able to be eaten. Not all of the animal is to be burnt to God. The rest is to be given back to the giver to eat and enjoy. Truly, it is graceful to allow us to give offerings to God for various reasons. This God welcomes peace and thanksgiving, welcomes voluntary offerings, and allows for the forgiveness of sin. God reveals himself to be these things, not the God of child sacrifice, but the God of grace. In Hebrews, we see the writer explain to the Jews that it is dangerous to ignore and neglect Christ, for the law was given, and the law was from God. They were told the message, and if it's ignored, then all punishment given is just. The same way works with neglecting Christ. They cannot ignore Christ, and then expect no punishment, no judgment. He focuses heavily on the fact that Jesus was human. Remember that this is not an obvious aspect to some people, that Christ was fully human and fully man. The writer is plainly explaining that Jesus had dominion over the angels. Who has dominion over the angels? God. The writer states that Jesus had everything subjected to him. He was crowned with glory and yet lowered himself to this position. He called us brothers and sisters, showing his humanity in his time on earth. He was fully human. Without it, the sacrifice would mean nothing. God determined how salvation would come, permanent salvation. The only way it could occur is if God sacrificed, and the only way for it to have meaning. God would have to humble himself in the form of Christ as human, to be the sacrifice, the perfect lamb. His humanity is what completes the sacrifice. In Psalm, we see the psalm describe God as a stronghold, a fortress, where we can go and be protected. We are surrounded by enemies, and we must be willing to take refuge in God. The writer sings and sacrifices for God, and understands the beauty of God. But war will break out before us, and we must know and trust God that he is our stronghold. Thank you for joining in the reading and understanding of these chapters, and let us all be vigilant in continuing this reading. Please share, like, follow, or whatever you can do to help us reach more people with the Bible reading. Please also check out the High Quality Gospel website for more information and a couple of store items. Thank you, and keep learning.